Greetings to you all. Today we're going to be talking about the second conditional. In the previous video we spoke about the first conditional. Now we are moving to the second conditional. In English we use the second conditional to talk about situations or actions in the present or future which are not likely to happen or are imaginary, hypothetical or impossible. This means that we use the meaning of the second conditional is to talk about situations or actions in the present or future, but these situations and these actions are not supposed to be happening. They are almost impossible to happen. Okay? Let's look at the form of the second conditional. We use in the if clause, we use if plus past simple. And in the main clause, we use would plus base form of the verb. Again, in the if clause, we use if plus past simple. Okay, and in the main clause, we use would plus the base form of the verb. For example, if I had more money, I could buy a car. Now, pay attention that we used had, which is the past simple of have. Okay, we used had, which is the past simple of have. So again, in the if clause, let me annotate this here and let me select the spotlight. Okay, good. In the if clause, we use the past simple. Okay, this is the past simple. Okay, the rule says the form, and the rule says if past simple here. If I had more money, and the result would plus base form of the verb. I could or would, of course we can use could instead of would, buy a car. Let's move on. If I found his address, I would send him an invitation. Now, if I found, again, the past simple in the if clause, and would plus the base form in the answer. Okay. What does this sentence mean? Let's think about it. If I found his address, I would send him an invitation. Does this mean that now, in the present, do I have his address? What do you think? No, exactly. I do not have his address now. But if I found his address, I would send him an invitation. But this means that by now or now, in the present moment, I do not have his address. Of course, we can change the form or the structure of the sentence, and we can say, I would send him an invitation if I found his address. Let's move on again. In the form, we are when we are thinking about a situation in the present, which is hypothetical, unlikely or unreal. Again, I wrote this again to make sure that you understand how and when do we use it. The second conditional. We use the second conditional when we are talking about a situation in the present or future, which is hypothetical, nadari, or it's not something practical. Unlikely, من غير المحتمل, or unreal. Okay, so again, we use the if past verb would plus base form of the verb. Okay, let's look at this. This is a typical classical example that is used in teaching the second conditional, and unfortunately all the people in the world are thinking about this. If I won the lottery means al-nasib. If I won the lottery, which is unlikely, غير المحتمل, I would buy a private airplane. So if I won the lottery, this means that if I had become a wealthy person, a very, very wealthy person, I would buy a private airplane. So this is hypothetical. This is not real, okay? Let's continue. If your car broke down means خربت, خربت. If your car broke down, where would you go for help? This is a question. Or we can say, where would you go for help if your car broke down? Now, does this mean that now, at this moment, your car is broken down? Absolutely not. But we are thinking about a condition. If your car broke down, where would you go for help? All right, let's go on and continue. We use a past verb, but we are thinking about the present or future, as we said. Let's look at this example. Tim and Sally like traveling, but they are poor. We have two persons here, two characters, Tim and Sally. Both like traveling. They like to go abroad to find new places to visit, but they are poor. I say, okay, I say here, if Tim and Sally were rich, if they were rich, what would they do? They would absolutely, they would travel around the world. If Tim and Sally were rich, they would travel around the world. Absolutely. But what does that mean? They are not rich now at the present moment. They are not rich. We are imagining a situation in the present. We are imagining as if the present situation changed, but the present situation didn't change. They are still poor, and because they are still poor, they cannot travel around the world as they like. Sally writes books, but not many people buy them. Sally writes books, but not many people buy them. I say, if Sally wrote a best-selling book, she would be famous. If Sally wrote a best-selling book, she would be famous. Now let me ask you a question. In the present moment now, is Sally famous? What do you think? Yes, of course she's not. She's not famous because it says here clearly, if Sally wrote, but she didn't write. If she wrote a best-selling book, a book that all people would buy, but she didn't write a book that all people would buy. So she would be famous. This means that she is not famous. Again, this is something imaginary, khayali. Good. It is unlikely, as I wrote here in the parentheses, it is unlikely in the present or future. Okay. Let's look at this. If I know where he lived, I go to and visit him. If I know where he lived, I go and visit him. What do you think we should write here? Instead of saying if I know, we are talking about the second conditional. So in the second conditional, in the if clause, we should use the past simple. So the past simple of know is knew. So if I knew where he lived, I go. Of course, in the result, we need a would plus the base form of the verb, I would go and visit him. We have enough money if we work hard. We have enough money if we work hard. The second conditional. We would have, absolutely would have enough money if we worked hard. She fly if she wings. She fly if she wings. We need the second conditional here. She would fly if she had wings. What does that mean? It means that she doesn't have wings and she will not have wings. It's impossible for her to have wings. And it means that she would not fly at all. Okay, but we are only imagining a situation in which she would have wings. If he exercised more, he'd be thinner. Is he thinner now? No, he isn't. Because it says here, if he exercised more, he would be thinner. So what I understand from here is that he is not thinner because he didn't exercise more. Okay. Sometimes we use it to give advice. You want to, for giving advice, you want to give advice to someone. If I, he, she, it, were, where. See, with I, he, and she, and it, we use was. I was happy. She was sad. He was angry. Okay? But with the second conditional, we can use where. It's okay. It's okay. It's not a grammar mistake. It's grammatically correct. And only in second, and after that, I'll talk about the third conditionals, in second conditional sentences. For example, if she were rich, she would stop working. Okay, she'd, it's the abbreviation of the contraction of she would. If she were rich, you can't use was here because it's the second conditional, and this is an imaginary situation. Therefore, the rule here says you should use were. If she were rich, she would stop working. But in informal English, people often use was. If she was, that's informal, يعني غير رسمي. But we usually use it in formal English, we use were. We use if I were you to give advice. For example, if I were you, I wouldn't buy that pullover. If I were you, I would study harder. This means that you are not studying harder, but if I were you, I would study harder. Negative form. How do we form the negative in the second conditional? If I didn't work, I would read books all day. I would read books all day if I didn't work. That's the same sentence, but I started with the result. I would not work if I had more money. I would not negative work if I had more money. I would sleep late every day if I didn't work early. If I didn't work early, I would sleep late. But what does that mean? It means that I go to sleep early because I work early. Okay. I have to wake up very early in the morning, therefore I cannot sleep after 10 or 11 at night. I need to have some energy so that I can wake up easily in the morning. If his parents didn't give him money, he would not go out so much. What does this sentence mean? It means that he goes out so much. And the reason is his parents give him money. Now, we are trying to imagine a situation in which his parents didn't give him money. So the result would be he wouldn't go out so much. Let's look at the question form. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? Okay, that's a hypothetical, unreal, imaginary situation. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? Where would you want to live? Who would you like to meet if you could meet anyone? What would you do if you were me? Okay, we use this. This is very authentic. We use it. This second conditional is very relevant to our everyday real life. Sometimes we ask someone, what would you do if you were me? If you were instead of me in my situation, how would you act differently? If you could change one thing about yourself, what would you change? If you could give yourself one skill, what skill would it be? Would it be one of the skills of the 21st century? Communication, collaboration, teamwork, and digital tools? What would it be? If you could stop a bad habit that you have, what habit would you stop? Let's move on. Let's practice here. Let's go over and practice here. Okay. All right. Let's look at this exercise. All right. If I in your shoes. I wouldn't ask him if I were in your shoes. I didn't ask him if I were in your shoes. I wouldn't ask him if I am in your shoes. I didn't ask him if I am in your shoes. What do you think? Excellent. I wouldn't ask him if I were in your shoes. Excellent. Okay, let's move on. Good. Let's move on. If I saw someone stealing, I say anything. I didn't or I wouldn't. What do you think? Excellent. I wouldn't say anything. Of course, we should say something if we see someone stealing. Okay. What would your parents do if your mobile, if you lost or if you would lose? Excellent. If you lost your mobile. All right. Let's move on. If I found a wallet in the street, it to be the police station. This means I would take or I took. What's the answer? Brilliant. I would take it to the police station. Excellent. What if you me? What would you doing? What would you do what would you do where? What did you do where? So what if you me? What do you think? Excellent. What would you do if you were me? Brilliant. Okay. If I a lot of money, I a big house. If I a lot of money, I a big house. Which one? Excellent. If I won a lot of money, the second conditional, in the if clause we have the past simple won, and in the main clause or the result, I would buy a big house. Excellent. All right. Let's move on. There is one more slice I would like to share with you. Okay. Let's look at this value sentences. These are value sentences that are very precious and relevant to our real life. Okay. If it were easy, it would have no meaning. We use it to talk about things that are not easy. Okay. If it were easy, it would have no meaning. I would plant an olive tree even if I knew the world would disappear tomorrow. Many people would survive if wars did not break out. Our society would be better if we thought about each other. Our society would be better if we thought about each other. With this, I end this video. Stay calm, stay safe, and stay healthy, and all the best.